My name is China. Yes, my guy.
It's good to be here, man. What are you saying?
Thank you for joining me, man, for coming to chop it up and impart some of your wisdom here on this platform.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So, the first thing that I'm going to ask you is, where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Okay, we're going to take it from there.
Yeah.
I was born in Cameroon.
Okay.
That's in West Africa. It's next door to Nigeria. A lot of people might know us for football. World Cup. Roger Miller. In actual fact, Roger Miller was the first person that did celebration. He danced around the goalpole.
The corner flag.
The corner flag, and then obviously that became something after that people started doing that. So I was born in Yaoundé. That's the capital of
Wait a minute. Are you saying before Roger Miller's celebration, people didn't celebrate goals? No.
Yeah.
For real?
For real.
Nah, I gotta look into that.
Look into it, I'm being real.
What that would have been in the 80s, yeah?
In the 80s, yeah. So before, basically when he ran around the goalpost and he danced, so that's why it was so famous, is because before that point, no one celebrated goals, and after that, people started celebrating goals.
So what did people do when they scored?
I don't know.
I gotta check that out.
You need to check it out.
Yo, that's sick.
Yeah,
okay, if that's true, then big up Roger Miller, man.
Yeah, Roger Miller.
Yeah, I remember that goal though. I remember that celebration.
It's been used in, I think it's been used in some high-profile adverts and people.
Yeah. So, how many siblings do you have?
There's 5 of us all together.
5 of you. Okay.
So I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
Yeah.
The head of my family it goes girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. So I got 1 sister below me.
Okay, cool. And what's everyone up to? What's everyone doing with the siblings?
So my father was a diplomat for the Cameroon embassy. That's how he came into this country. He was the first generation of people from Cameroon that came here.
Yeah.
My older sister, she's a barrister. She currently lives in New York with her husband, and he works for the UN. So the ambassadors and actually work for the UN. Okay. Then my brother, he works quite high up in I can't really say what he does, but it's quite high. He does security and stuff.
Okay.
But
and what about your younger sister?
No, then I've got
one sister.
Yeah,
older than you.
Yeah, she's currently in Ghana, and she set up a charity, and she's working over there doing amazing stuff in the community there.
Sick.
And then I have my junior sister who has her own business, hair care products and nail business, but she's also works in healthcare. She's quite high up in doing cancer research in the UK. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and then obviously there's you, who's what would you label yourself as?
I'm a creative.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that now is because I just think I'm starting to probably understand myself a little bit more of late.
I get that 100%. Because you go through life, you do different things, and you're just that guy. You're like you're doing different things. It's working out, but you can't quite put a finger on what you would label this thing as. Yeah. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel you, but carry on. Yeah.
So I'm a creative. So that means I live to create. Initially, I thought, because I come from, where are we going to take this back to? I come from a music background. So, like, I don't know, like, where we want to...
Go back, man, go back. Yeah, go back, back. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to see if we can shift it through stages, right? So we'll take it back to when I was really young.
Yeah.
I was part of the Royal National Opera. Okay. When I was younger.
Doing what?
I used to play the clarinet.
Okay.
So we used to do shows in Covent Garden and what have you not, and we used to do a lot of productions. That's how I grew up. Yeah. So that's what I did. And then I went to theatre school growing up. So I used to go to Susie Earnshaw Theatre School. I know that actually they've got a centre in Barnet, but that's where I went to. It's mad. I'm gonna disclose a bit of information now. Shout out to Midget, Don Midgie. He actually went there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that Midge. Before he was rapping, he was definitely an actor on the dark. So too sorry, Midge. I got. But he's mad, and it just shows you that he's just mad talented, isn't it? So So I went to that. So I did that growing up. And I used to do things like Nickelodeon, did a lot of acting, did adverts, did all that stuff. And then as you went to school, I went to Bishop Douglas School in East Finchley.
Yeah, North London.
Yeah, North London. Yeah. And then at that time, it was garage music, drum and bass and stuff. Yeah. So when I went to that, I got exposed to some of that, and then it wasn't kind of cool. It's not like nowadays doing X Factor and doing British Got Talent. Everyone, you get rated for that. And back in the day, anything you did, people like, why? Like, it wasn't rated, didn't it?
Really?
Yeah. You wasn't. What, man dancing back in the
No, man dancing back in the day, like nah. You get what I'm saying? But like, if you're spitting, if you're an MC or a DJ, you was
But basically, that was what I got exposed to because I came as like dancing and stuff as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So then, you know. Yeah. But then once I discovered like this whole new music stuff, it was like, wow, what's this? I remember people telling me about, MC Det and DJ Brocky and all these people and Cool FM and Rude FM and all these old school things. And I was like, so I got exposed to something differently. And then that's when obviously I started getting into MCing and MC China.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back to Susie Earnshaw. So as soon as I know that, I've heard of that before, and they've produced quite a bit of talented individuals that have been through that school. Yeah. Is it peas to go to that school?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mum used to, like, I'm never gonna, it's only recent I had quite a fortunate upbringing, like quite privileged upbringing, because I said I come from a good home. I'll never try to act like I didn't come from a good home. I think later on in life, maybe things might have struggled a little bit, but essentially growing up, I had everything that a kid would want. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, we had Sky TV in the 1990s. You get me? I had every single Nintendo SNES. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't need to think about it. It would just be there, innit? We had, my dad is a very well-read man. He's a professor as well. He's got 2 PhDs. So we had Mac computers and PCs before people had them. Okay. We had you'd have the encyclopedias, you know what I'm trying to say to you? The Britannia. You know the Britannia now?
The collection.
My dad he had all collection. They would come and, you know, he would have a whole library selection. So
I remember going to school and capping about that show on Sky. I watched it too. I got Sky. I remember, you know what I'm saying? I wish I had Sky back in the day. I don't think my family saw Sky until I got Sky as an adult myself. You know what I'm saying? But now, obviously now my mum, everyone's got Sky, everyone. But when I was a kid, I remember having to just cap, man, on, like just to be part of the, you know what I'm saying, the conversations and that. Okay, so then when you started to MC yourself, you given name MC China. Yeah. Talk to us about your music career, like.
Okay, so
did you have a music career? Did it?
I definitely had a music career, and it's quite, for a lot of people, they don't understand why I didn't probably continue music or why I didn't.
Here we go. This is the chance.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I definitely had it. So throughout the whole time in school, I had a very well-known name, MC China, and you know, it was so. I just remember, so I used to live originally in Northwest. So I come from Northwest initially, so a lot of people don't know. I lived in, when we first came to this country, I lived in Golders Green, Finchley. I went to Garden Suburb Primary School, that's in Golders Green. Then I went to Childs Hill Primary School. And then I went to Little Stanmore Primary School in Edgware. So I've always been Northwest. Yeah. But when I went to secondary school about year 8, I actually moved and moved to North London. But I'm actually originally a Northwest boy, so a lot of people from Northwest would have known me from then. And then I switched over. Okay. So I used to. you know, shout out to Charles Hill, because I spent a lot of my time growing up there, and I used to be with like Adam B, Van Damage, and Flirta D, SOK. In actual fact, I used to like MC with them a lot of times. I spent a lot of time with Adam. He's been Charles Hill. We used to go around Northwest, and those days it was weird because everyone always seems to think about East London when it comes to grime and MCing, but trust me, Northwest was where it really was at. Like, you know what I'm trying to say to you? There seems to be a hidden part which is not documented about Northwest MCs. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Because Northwest was definitely popping for MCs and crews.
I think, for sure. Like Flirta D was one of the MCs that was like killing it. But I think he used to do a lot of like tongue twisters and sound effects and that, and it was a bit like Marmite. Like, I think most people loved it because it was different, and it was like, do you know what I'm saying? It was pioneering the some of the sounds used to, but some people just weren't really feeling it, and I don't know if it was like a hater thing or whatever, but I think overall most people would have said, yeah, Flirta D was cold. So I don't know. There's
but I just think there's a whole section of MCs and stuff that happened in East London, in Northwest. That led to things like obviously SOK, Thugged Out Family, obviously from Twister Souls, whatever. There's quite a lot of crews. You know what I mean? All the MCs from Graham Park. You know what I'm trying to say to you? All the different places. So Northwest had actually a lot of MCs and a lot of people that put in mad work and that made names for themselves. Actually, sometimes when people talk about MCs, they kind of, I don't know, sometimes they just miss out that whole thing. Even man like Manga came from Northwest. I remember going to Canada Villa. We used to spit with Manga. You know what I mean? Before obviously he got recruited to Roll Deep. But that came from Northwest. So I'm saying to you. Northwest was definitely doing a lot those days.
And obviously there was that big tune.
Where did we come from?
But
even before that, like, it's just
way before
like,
that.
Even before that, I just remember, especially during the Channel U era, Northwest was heavily represented on that platform.
Even before that, though, even before Channel U was a thing, like a lot of the names you mentioned were doing their thing.
You know what I'm trying to say.
For real, So, as when you was a kid, spitting, doing your music, was that the dream to grow up to be a musician, or what did you see for yourself as a kid? During that time.
I at that point, but there were MCing, like, you're talking about the So Solid time, and that time it was only...
How old were you around them times? Like, rough, like, what kind of period, what are we talking, 15, 16?
But yeah, around that time, 14, 15. Yeah, around the time when they will probably start getting, their height of fame. But before that, I'd already been introduced to the music and the rest of it. When I was at school, I used to... shout out to one of my boys. He used to take me to like London and that. He used to take me to nightclubs. His uncle was Norris the Boss, Windrush.
Okay.
Like, do you get me? He used to get me on the mic and that. Do you get me? And then so I was really getting exposed to that. So I'll be going out on school nights and then going to like nightclubs in West End and that, MCing and that. And then it was, you know, the days where you have to wear hard shoes and stuff. You know what I'm trying to say?
Them ones there.
So but I'll be getting exposed. I was literally getting exposed to the music, and then at that point I was like, I want to do this, and people would be like, oh, you can't be an MC, you can't take that for a job in school seriously and stuff like that. So.
And then how was like things at school back then? Like what kind of student were you in school? Like, what was your education? Were you in all the top sets, bottom sets, somewhere in the middle?
No, I was in mostly all the top sets.
Okay.
Science, I was very good in science. English, I was very good. I think my GCSEs were like 3 Bs, 4 Cs, and some others. I was good in maths, like in the real world, but for some reason, when I would get into like exams, like I wouldn't be so good with exams in maths. But in the class I was good, but just for some reason when I was getting exams, like I wouldn't be the best in it. But all the other subjects I was really good. Good,
So I've seen you like on a couple channels talking about like relationships, dating. You've like I said at the start of the interview, you've imparted a lot of wisdom, and I think a lot of the things you say are things that most people know and feel, but are too scared to say. So of course, it's an honor to have you here to, you know, because that's what this platform is all about. It's 100%. Like it's about facts, true shit. So When did you start dealing with girls? Because you do seem to know quite a bit. So how old were you when you started dealing with girls for the first time? Like,
Well, as soon as I was born by my mum.
Okay.
And that's essentially that's what it is. From the moment I was born, I started experiencing women and dealing with women. I have 3 sisters. I was growing up in that home, and the head of my household is a woman. She's probably the most successful. I would say, is the most successful of the household. In my opinion, not just everyone's successful, but I always look to her as the head of the family and being ambassadors and what they do. So I've always looked at women as leaders as well.
Yeah. When you the head of your house, are you talking about your mum or your older sister?
No, so when I say the head of the siblings, head of the siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your oldest sister.
Yeah, my mum and dad are still together. They've been together for over 40 years. Yeah. They're in the house now together.
Why was your sister such an example? Like, why was she such a? What were the qualities that you kind of can talk about that make her such a good leader?
My sister had the best of everything, and that's not one of the reasons why I think that. But I've seen the benefits of when you give someone the best of anything. She went to She went to private school. She was in school with the Sultan of Brunei's kids. She went to boarding school. She studied in France as well as that, you know what I mean? So she learned different languages. She studied just not the English bar, she also studied the African bar. So she was a lawyer, so she studied both types of law. She's married, she's with kids, she's in New York, she's worked in Qatar, now she's going to South Africa. Yeah. She does things, she's been doing things global, she's been working for the global citizen thing in Africa, putting on, she's just an amazing woman. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
So to me, if that's my daughter that you're listing off right there, it's like, yo, there's no man on earth that couldn't. So automatically now that makes me think the guy that she's with must be a G. Tell me a bit about him. What do you know about him?
Nelson Mufu. He works for the UN and in New York currently. He's a Cameroonian as well, and he's an incredible man. He's a forward-thinking man. He's a man that listens to both sides. He's a very calm individual. He's the type of man that anyone would be proud to have as a brother-in-law.
I love that.
You know what I'm trying to say to you? He represents being a man well. Okay. He represents being a black man well. And he's someone that no one, I think, when you have sisters, or if you have a daughter, I don't have any kids, but I have sisters, but I would speak on behalf of my dad, is the greatest fear is her not seeing herself for what she really is. So I listed some things, and you automatically saw my sister as a woman of virtue, and you automatically said, well, the man she has to be with is of caliber. And then I've told you a little bit about this man, and now you can understand that. The problem is when you look at your daughters or your sisters like this, and they don't look at themselves like that. And that entails what they might entertain. And a lot of times is women set the standard that men should follow. So if you set yourself a high standard, the only men that meet that standard will be able to come up to par. But if you set your standards low, but in reality you're probably a lot higher, then people will come in at a low standard. And I just think that my dad taught his daughters and his sons as well to set their life at a high standard.
What about the women who have lived a certain type of lifestyle, use their probably most valued, one of their most valued qualities, which is their youth, and everything that comes with that period of time. What about the women who use that time in not necessarily the right way for them, and then still expect a high standard of man when they get to a certain age, let's say?
So what I'll say is women are born with value, whereas men, we have to earn our own value. So
Facts.
Women are your purity, your chastity, your virginity is the value that women are born with. From the moment we'll give them, we'll say 18, I won't say 16, but we'll say from 18 till, we'll even give them till 28. These are 10 prime years where the world favors women. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Like they go out in the world, they get things for free. It's when, if you're talking about beauty standard, it's when you're going to be considered to be your most beautiful. And it's really when men chase after you. And at that age, women tend not to go for the boys around their own age, and we tend to be, you know, you're classed out of it for these women. They don't look at you, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, women can necessarily like live whatever life they want to live, but a lot of times is women. So this is what I believe. I believe a woman has the right to choose. A woman has the right to wear what she wants. A woman has the right to go where she wants. A woman has the right to sleep with who she wants consensually. I believe a woman has autonomy and sovereignty over her body. But along with those rights, I have rights too. And part of those rights is that I may not necessarily want a woman that has done that. Now, the problem is society has told women they can go out and sleep with who they want and do what they want. And of course, that's true. But it doesn't mean you have access to whoever you want. And this is where the problem lies. So traditionally, women would get the best outcomes within those years. But because they tend to go out now and have more sexual partners and date more people, which is perfectly fine, but along with all these partners that they tend to get, it tends to build more trauma. So when you tend to meet women and they say, you know, I have a mistrust for guys, or you know, my ex did this and did that, and you meet them and you're having problems already, this is because of all the trauma that they've got from building up all these bodies. So by the time you get to, let's say, your 30s, right, and you know, you're not as you're coming with a lot of trauma now and bad experiences, understandably, because you've dated all of these guys, right? When you meet a new man, it makes it a lot harder for this new man to be seen as something differently, and this is where the problems happen. So whereas men, we have to gain our value later on in life. So whereas you weren't looked at when you was 18, 20, 21. You had to go out in the club. All the, you know, the big ballers, the uncles will pop in bottles with the sparklers, getting all the shine. We saw it. Like, we didn't get bitter, we got better. Then as we get into your 30s now, you start picking up stride. Actually, they didn't tell you that it gets better. I want to tell men and some of these kids, these young men that are growing up now that are going to watch this, you don't need to be competing with men that are a lot older than you. It gets better. You compound as a man, but they haven't told you this. So whereas women have to traditionally, they should be getting better outcomes earlier. Men, as long as you put in work and you compound, it gets better. Statistically, men don't actually get in their stride till their late 40s, mid 50s, bro. Like, you need to go look at the people that drive these Ferraris and these Lambos and the real Bentleys. Like, look at the age of them. Don't look at the anomalies. Don't look at the ballers. Don't look at the footballers. Don't look at the rappers. Don't look at the YouTubers, the stars. No. Look at the actual demographic of people that buy that car and live that life. And if you think like that, you're doing okay.
So on to like what you've finished off talking about there, you know, that lifestyle and the flashy stuff. We're just going to talk about like money, especially like in the black community. So there's this thing about obviously wearing everything you own and showing everyone that you got that you got everything and rare tear. These times behind you, your priorities aren't even in the right order. You know what I'm saying? You might have the best whip, but you ain't even got a place to live. Why is it in the black community that we prioritize things the wrong way around? We got to stunt to each other and show off instead of do things the right way. Why do you think that is? In fact, do you even agree with that, first of all? And then if so, why do you think that is? If you don't agree, then tell me your thoughts on that then.
I'm going to quote Kanye on this. You're like, what? Because slavery is still a choice. And the reason I say that, because you're choosing to be a modern slave. And I think whereas he didn't articulate it further, let me articulate it further. You know what you're doing is wrong. You know it. You know it's detrimental to you as a person. Your lifestyle. You know you can't afford that thing. You know you can't spend that money on that night out. You know you can't afford that trip. You know you can't afford that watch. The payments on this car are going to kill you. You know what I'm saying to you? But why do you do it? You do it because you're mentally still a slave to the system. And this system of consumerism and globalization is a system that's got us all trapped on some level, and we all have to break out of it. You know what I'm trying to say to you? We are all, even social media, like, you know, how would you feel if your social media is completely taken away from you? And if you can't survive with that, then you're a slave. You know what I'm trying to say to you? And there also comes a lot of self-realization we need to do as individuals. How, do you know what it is to be like actually honest with yourself, to look in the mirror and being honest with yourself? And that's one of the hardest things for people to do. Same thing with debts and same things. You have to open up the letters and look, this is my life. But the longer you don't look at it, the easier it makes it to be like, it's not real. You know what I'm trying to say to you? You know, we can, and when I say slavery as well, we're still shackled in our minds in the sense of a lot of times we feel like we haven't, we have something to prove.
Facts, yeah.
But what we tend to be doing is proving it to other black people. You're not actually proving it. You're not actually proving it to the people that matters to matter. You're proving it on people. So you're stunting and you make money, but you're stunting on your contemporaries and your peers and your people. And rather than work together, there tends to be a thing in a black person, only one person can come at one time through. And once that person comes through, they don't want to then filter back the knowledge.
Pull up the ladder.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say to you? So it's that crabs in the barrel, crabs in the bucket mentality. You know what I'm trying to say to you? And that's what I was talking about.
Shout out Nines.
Yeah, shout out to Nina. I'm mentioning Midge and Nina both in one interview. They didn't pay for that. But like essentially that's the mentality. So when I say slavery is still a choice, is we're choosing to be slaves to consumerism, we're choosing to be slaves to social media, we're choosing to be slaves to relationships, we're choosing to be slaves to old ways of thinking. And as long as we do that, we're always gonna, and it's also lack of education. Because like I said, who is teaching who is our community now? Who's in the family home? Who are the elders that are talking down to the next generation? If you look at all of these things that are being missed and that are broken, you will start to understand why we're having a lot of the problems that we have. And when people start asking these questions and start speaking like this, you're always going to get some people that are going to push back because they don't want to look in the mirror and say, actually, I'm part, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of realization. And until people are truly ready to look in the mirror and say, okay, what am I contributing to this? And what are my mistakes? What are my failures? Where can I go? Yeah, but it's not going to change.
Do we really stand a chance though if we are going to start going, okay, I'm part of the problem, I need to stop doing this, I need to start preaching a different message so that the young people looking up to me can, you know, take a different message from me rather than me trying to stunt and even if a lot of us are doing that, do we really stand a chance against the people who are influencing our young people even more than we ever can? The people like our musicians, drill music and everything, all the lyrics and all everything that comes with that culture and just our culture in general and the music and everything. Do we stand a chance against that?
Like it's weird for me because there was a time when they banned Lethal Bizzle's Power. Like you know Power, forward with it. Yeah. There was a time that was banned. That was banned from the night. Don't you remember Power? You couldn't play the nightclubs. That was banned originally.
Because it will start mosh pits and that.
But when you look at where Lethal Bizzle's ended up and what he's actually done towards, you know what I mean, for the culture. At one point he was banned. He was banned. So we can't look at where people are. We're going to look at where they're going to end up. You know what I'm trying to say to you? And Lethal Bizzle, he's been given Lifetime Achievement Awards and he's looked as a stable part of the community. And he's done amazing things. So I'm saying to you, you look at him and he's a businessman. He's outlasted many of his contemporaries and he's transcended into something completely different, right?
Always evolving.
Yeah.
Adapting.
So I don't want to tell. I like drill music. I do. You know what I'm saying to you?
I love a lot of it as well. Like I can't listen to bare things because it all does start to sound the same. But I like it. I like it as well.
I like drill music. I support drill artists. But then again, I'm a grown man in his 30s, and I can differentiate between the drill versus. You know what I mean? So, exactly. So I also understood where I was when I wasn't a grown man and I was in my teens and my early 20s and I was a complete different person. You know what I'm trying to say to you? But so I will never blame the music because before we start blaming music, we can look at film, we can look at games, and we'll look at the people that actually own the labels and the marketing companies that push this out and the videos and the video. So before we start trying to blame the artists, I'll be like, okay, we'll go back for, you know what I'm trying to say to you? And it's hard for me because I believe in art and I'm a creative.
Yeah.
And I believe in expression.
Yeah.
And I believe in expression of art.
Yeah.
And I always know that a lot of these problems happen without the music.
Yeah.
So it's just.
There's a quote from Jay-Z where he says, Scarface the movie did more than Scarface the rapper to me.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and Scarface? What has that done to the hood?
Yeah.
What did that do? Like that Scarface, and that was not made for our demographic.
For real.
But it was adopted, like
Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
you
real.
know, these are hood classics.
Yeah. So would you say that we are, like the black community in London, would you say that we are thriving as a financially as a community in London? Or
How do you mean?
I mean, like, economically, are black people doing well in London?
Yeah, I would say I don't look at.
I don't mean are some black people doing well. I just mean as a whole, in general.
Oh, as a whole, no. Like, because if I'm thinking about individuals and areas and sectors, then I'll be like, they're doing nice over there. But if I think about, so I can't just look at my friendship group. You know what I mean? Or look at myself. And even then, there's levels of doing well. But, you know, but if I look at, just looking in the world, or London, or when I step out into, like, no one's on their face begging on the street, but people are struggling. People don't have what they need to have. People don't own. People are stressed. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, you know, we just came out of the whole pandemic. Like, that was just around the corner. Like, a lot of people started acting like that didn't even happen. Like, people are still recovering from that. You know what I'm trying to say to you? There's loans that are going to be getting paid for a long time because of that. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, people lost their livelihoods. People had to change jobs. You know what I mean? People thought about new careers. I'll be honest with you. It was during the pandemic that I started because of I/U. It got, basically everything stopped or reduced. And in the beginning it was all right, it was fun. You know, when the pandemic happened, you know, everyone was at home first, then it was like, doing deliveries to home. And then after like the third lockdown, it was like, it got real depressing. Yeah. And for someone like me who created a slush drink business, which needed people, which did events, which had people linking up together, all the riders and buying bottles and drinks, and had shops open. Shops were closed. They took the money from the government and that was it. They were closed. Yeah. People didn't want to link up no more. Everyone was scared. Money just... So then something that you built and something that you put a lot of work into starts coming away by the seams. And then you believe in the system, so you think, okay, things are going to get back to normal at some point. But after a while, you're like, actually, this thing, it's not going to get back to normal. How much money do you need in order to relax for a year? Like, when you think about your bills, think about, if you didn't do nothing for the whole year and just paid bills and just children, how much money would you need? Then times that by, then times that by 2. And but then, like, so at some point, you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to do something, innit? I was more fortunate that I could delay that reaction, but in the end of it, I still had to get up and go and had to look for alternatives. So partly of me doing the route of where I've gone is because I realized during that time that I'm a creative person, and I probably lost some of what made me me due to the area, due to maybe some friends, and just due to probably a lack of self-belief as well.
And just for context, I/U is the brand that you own, which is it's like kind of slush puppy drinks.
Can't say, you just say the separate brand.
Not slush puppy drinks, but I just call any drink like that a slush puppy. You know what I mean? Like, it's an icy.
So I'll explain it to you. So basically, the reason why you call it slush puppy, and it's fine because slush puppy was the first. They created
I thought Slush Puppy was just a type of drink. I didn't realize it was the brand.
No, but the reason why you don't is because Slush Puppy's brand is so iconic, right?
Okay,
so they were the first. So we all grew up to Slush Puppy. So that's
Yeah.
why automatically when you see a slush, you say, "Can I have a Slush Puppy?"
Yeah.
They could have a whole separate name on it,
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
ice. But that's fine. Let me give you an example. This is like Hoover and vacuum cleaner. You do realize, grab the Hoover or Hoover up the room, right?
Yeah.
It's not called a Hoover.
For real.
Hoover's a separate brand. It's called a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Hoover's brand is so strong that even if there's a Dyson in the room, you're going to say, grab me the Hoover.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
And that's essentially what you're doing, and that's fine. But you grew up to Slush Puppy, but this generation grew up to Ice Slush Shoe.
Facts.
So they didn't call it Slush Puppy, they called it Ice Slush Shoe.
Yeah.
The only people that call it Slush Puppy are
old
people,
lot.
do you get me? So it's perfectly fine. So that's what I did. But what I did, which was different, is I put into bottles, frozen bottles. So you buy it in a frozen bottle from the shop, then you defrost it, and then it goes back to slush. And there was loads of different flavors, and that's what made it so popular.
We're gonna come back to that at the end, because that what you've done, I gave you props for that from day, and what you've done is so inspirational and just hard that we're gonna give that its separate section at the end of this thing. But for now, we're just gonna carry on getting to know you and your mental, like you know who you are. So, how do you feel about racism? What do you think about racism here in London, or just in the world, or in the West in general? Like, what are your thoughts on racism as a whole? Do you experience it? Do you think it doesn't really exist? Like, you know, like, what are your thoughts on it?
Racism still alive. They just be concealing it. I'm quoting Kanye again. That's twice, right?
Yeah.
But it's the truth. Like, racism exists, you know, but it's a different type of racism. And you're lucky if someone can come up to you and call you the N-word and call you, you know, you African this, go back.
So you know where you stand.
Man, you're lucky if you can get that.
Yeah.
Do you get me? Because you can get paid for that. Your boss can lose his job for that. You'll be getting all types of, you know, like payments out for that. Nah, the new racism is not that one. The new racism is, I'm going to hire you. Of course. And racism is economic. It's not about anything other than that. And that's what I want people to understand. Racism is always fundamentally, it's based upon someone getting something out of you because they think of you lesser than them. Do you understand? And that's what economics is, like making money off somebody. So that's why you'll see all that stuff in football, right? Like, soon as everyone loves you when you're winning, as soon as you do something wrong, all of a sudden bananas start coming out, gorilla charts, this, that, whatever. You even, you know, like pundits will get caught out when the microphone's on saying some mad things because that's racism. Like it's economic. So as long as you're winning and doing well, they're gonna make money off you and support you. The moment where you're not the horse to back anymore, the N-words will start coming out. You know?
I think, I'd describe it as like I don't want to talk about other race. Listen, if you're white or whatever, like, you've got there is no ice for you. Like, you've got solid ground to walk on. You can make your mistakes. You can do whatever. You're the default person. However, when you're black, you're on thin ice. Like, we love you, like you just said, but it's very thin like this. Because if you breathe wrong, if you even breathe wrong, you black this and that, and you this, that, and the other, and red, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, I could tell you stories of some of the outbursts I've heard from white people who were around me and just didn't understand why they couldn't place me in a certain label or box, and it frustrated them so much that they just lashed out with all sorts of verbal racial abuse, which just makes me laugh. You know, I'm not emotional like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How does racism? I'm sure you've encountered racism in your lifetime, but like, does it affect your mental health in any way, or has it, or you know? But what are your thoughts on mental health in general, anyway?
I wouldn't say I've experienced racism because I've lived in this country, but like I said before, Britain, like the type of racism where someone comes up to you and says the N-word, you're lucky if you get that, because that one is a protected characteristic and you can get paid for that. So I'm saying to you, but the one we get today is the new age type racism, which is subtle, which is often what's that new one they say, unconscious bias.
Unconscious
That's
bias,
another way of being racist, but saying I don't know I'm being racist, but I'm being ignorant. So these are all buzzwords that's been fed to us during the last few years, you know what I'm trying to say, which are new to me, unconscious bias, and that's basically trying to allow someone's ignorance, and that's a lot of the things that a lot of the times how racism is seen in Britain. British people don't like to admit they are racist, but they would continuously do racist things. So like you see with the newspapers, how they treat Rashford, how they treat Sterling, how they treat a lot of the high profile, how they Lukaku, Stormzy, all the how they always put in someone else's pit. It's that thing where, oh, we're sorry, but how many times can you be sorry and keep making the same mistake before someone says, actually, no, you're doing it on purpose? But that's what I'm talking about. And it's that one where you can't call it racism, but to someone that knows it and is black, you can feel what racism is.
To be honest, I don't mind, but mistaking Lukaku for Stormzy, I think they look alike, to be honest. But I get what you're saying, but mistaking them two it's not as harmful as what you said earlier, which was very ominous, which is the new one is I'm gonna hire you.
Yeah.
Because do you know why? That one is a lot more dangerous, because I have control of your life.
Yeah.
I can stop you from getting to a certain level that you deserve to be
I'm your boss.
Yeah.
I'm your boss.
Yeah.
I'm your boss. I'm your boss. And if you have a racist boss and that's the thing, like during slavery or even after slavery, you were still hired. You just wasn't treated that well. You know what I'm trying to say to you? You know what I'm trying to say to you? So it's like, that's a lot of the ones what people experience in the corporate world, or when it comes down to your hair. You know, people feel like a lot of black women, majority feel as if that they can't wear their natural hair. This is why they wear Eurocentric hairstyles, and they've cited it and they've said it. Sometimes I'm a little bit like, well, you know, you could, you know, you don't have to necessarily wear that style. But when you're looking at how someone feels and when they walk into a workplace and the only one, you have to start maybe put yourself a little bit how they feel. You know what I'm trying to say to you? And once I do that, I will understand the pressures of to conform and not wanting to be seen as different, you know. But when someone actually saw me and called me the N-word, they had to be maybe in a car or something, you know, like on a like road rage and someone mouths you, say, what did you say? Like, but growing up in Barnet, so growing up in Barnet and Finchley was a different. See, like Twisted Soul, K9, let's take it there. So, so growing up in Barnet and Finchley, those times when we grew up, this was a super racist area. Like
NFs,
they were NFs,
proper NFs,
proper NFs.
NFs.
They used like they used to run even in your school blazer. They'll be chasing man. This is what they used to do, right? In Barnet was a very white area. It's not BBK boy better know Barnet like how it is now. That's not like before Skepta and them man were up with Aaron and them man in Barnet and Ez and them man there. It was, and this is what I'm trying to say. Like it was showing you the ends. Like it was completely white. And those days, man would definitely say stuff. We had to. What did we say? But you know what happened? We just started taking all their sisters,
all the girls,
and then the racism just dropped because
it's weird because like the man hate man, but the girls love man.
Yeah.
It's always and
that's what happened. And then I remember those days, loads of man from Edmonton, Enfield, Tottenham started coming to Barnet, and then it was, it just started filtering. But Barnet was a very racist area back in the day in Finchley.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Strawberry Vale.
Oh God.
Dollars Valley.
It's you know what? It's mad because I only think of those places like Mandem ends now. There could be never no one racist in Dollars Valley.
Nah.
Like what? Yeah. Are you crazy? Strawberry Vale.
I think they've all.
But big up Frenchie. I think Frenchie helped that. Frenchie was like, nah. Frenchie's like, nah.
Hey,
Frenchie's
what's his handle? French logo.
French logo. Hey, you know what?
Shout out to French logo.
Big up French logo because
trust me.
You know what? I'm gonna give another part. So
okay,
I was stabbed before. Quite badly. I was stabbed in my liver. I had lacerations to my liver. I had a punctured lung. I've got, I don't know how big, it's probably like a 7-8 inch scar across my stomach. And I was stabbed by white boys. Stabbed by Turks. And the reason I say that is because there seems to be some type of thing which is put a stigma on black boys and black on black violence. I was never stabbed by nobody black. I was stabbed by Turks. And even being stabbed by Turkish people, I do business with Turks every single day with I/you. I have Turkish friends and my friends. I don't even think of it when I interact with a Turkish person. But on the flip side, when a white person be stabbed by a black person, I'm not going to say all of them, but it seems to change you know what I mean? Whereas we don't. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because Frenchie saved my life. Like, do you get me? He saved my life. He was there that day. He got me to the hospital and he made sure that, you know, we didn't talk about it, but the get back was sweet. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Instant. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you know, it was instant and it put me through a lot. And it's just that we mentioned him, and I just want to just say that I wouldn't even be here right now speaking and becoming who I'm becoming and realizing my creativity if it wasn't for someone that reacted. And a lot of kids today get stabbed and you watch their friends recording them, bro. Like they bleeding out and you're watching on social media someone's life come out of them. My friend saw something that happened to me and instantly acted and got me straight to the hospital where they could fix me up. And you know, I was on life support machine, but it was the instant reaction. And the doctor said it's because how your friends reacted and they compressed my wounds and held, you know what I mean? Like, and I just think, like, you know.
Well, in some of the prominent parts of London for youth violence nowadays, they're trying to teach courses on emergency first aid, street first aid. I can't remember the technical term for it, but it's basically teaching kids how to help out if one of their friends gets stabbed, specifically like stabbed. Because they do courses in certain parts of London to kind of promote that. And they're not out there saying, kids please stab each other, but it's like, yo, if this was to ever happen, this is what you need to do.
I think it's kind of scary that we have to teach them that, but at the same time, I think it's even scarier that it's happening and they don't know what to do. So it's a double-edged sword type of thing. You don't really want it, but prevention is better than cure. You know what I mean?
For real,
so I think it can be a good thing.
So lastly, now we're coming on to the brand. This is the chicken of the meal of this interview. This is the thing that I'm proud of you for this. Thank you. And I'm proud of it, and I rate it highly, highly, highly. Bro, tell us everything from the conception of this idea to the creation of it to where it's at now and what your hopes are for it in the future. Give us game. So
I/you is a frozen slush drink brand. We specialise in all events really. We supply slush machines, and that's initially how we started. But I have my own frozen brand drink in bottles, 500ml bottles. We do over 27 flavours, but there are 13 flavours currently in the shops. I supply over 100 shops in London, Hertfordshire, Essex, Kent, Reading, Birmingham, basically up and down, up and around. We're on Instagram. You know, we've gone very viral. We've sold merchandise, tracksuit stickers. Basically, we're heavily involved. In the bike life culture, and that's kind of how we came up at that time.
Bike life as in bicycles or bikes?
Well, to be bicycles and big bikes. So initially, the reason why I/you is in frozen bottles, it was because it was made for the kids to go on their bikes, so they could fit into actual bottles. So then something that started from just a group of people in Enfield that used to come on Sunday to the strip, so bikes would meet up. Spread to everything that you see now.
What do you mean the kids going on their bike? So if a kid jumps on a bicycle,
so you know, like you know your bottle holder.
Okay.
So they would dye they're in bottles because they were designed to go into bottle holders.
Got you.
That was the idea.
Okay.
And initially it was just frozen bottle. It was just frozen bottles with slush inside of them. That was it.
Yeah.
No labeling, no
Yeah,
branding,
yeah, yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Then it started getting really, really popular.
Yeah.
And then I started doing hot.
How did you even think of that though? How did you think? Why did you do that? Why did you think to do that? Why didn't you do a burger or I don't know?
I actually wanted to do photo booths.
Okay.
I actually wanted to do photo booths. That was initially the idea because I used to work. I was working in security, and then I used to do a lot of events, and I used to see a lot of the things that they would come in and use and that they would pay for. So I was trying to figure out what is the best thing I can use to make money for some of these places because they're paying for it, and I'm looking at what they're hiring for everything, the DJ, the photo booth, the security, you're right at the bottom, least money. I'm like, no, how can I get some of this? So then when I spoke to them, that was the beginning of me thinking about vending. But basically, there used to be one ice cream man that used to come to the stadiums, and then he spoke, but he was just drippy. He was some Italian guy. He would come in wearing Louis, Gucci, like he was just so drippy. I used to be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm selling ice cream." I'm like, nah. He would have but he had so many different ice cream vans. I would see him at different places I would work, and then one day he just spoke to me and just like, "So what else you into?" And I was just telling him about like music and this and all the other stuff I was doing. And like media stuff that I was doing and writing, and he was just like, he said that he used to do backbreaking work. He used to work on building sites. His dad had ice cream vans, but he was like, I didn't want to ever do it. I didn't want to do it. And then one day he just got tired of it and said, I'm going to take over his dad's business and make it, expand it. And he just broke it down to me. He's like, oh, you know, I sell ice cream during the summer, but in the winter, then he sells like, he has like coffee trailers, and he just started opening my mind a little bit differently. Then there was a fish and chip guy that was in the stadium that was showing me, and then I started speaking to vendors all the time, and they started breaking down facts and figures to me and how things. So once they started doing that, I was like, oh, you really getting this? You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, that was the beginning of me thinking something, and then I saw, you know, slush and researched into the market and discovered it was £1 billion market, but it wasn't dependent on weather. But I realised that if I could make it work in winter, then it'll be something that, you know what I mean, that other people couldn't do. So the idea initially was just to get, so I worked, saved some money, got my first slush machine. And after researching it, sorry.
I was going to ask you, why did you choose slush? Why slush?
Because I researched it and I looked at it and I realised that I could do it different. I wanted to trap slush.
Okay.
So, you know, I looked at it and said I could do this differently. That was just it. I just looked at it and it looked like it was slush was that thing you'd come into a shop, it would be that dead little machine in the corner. It's not really got no life. No one's really showing it no love.
Okay.
When the summer's on, you would. But I was like, no, I can revive that. Like I never drank slush growing up. I never had like the money for the slush. Mum wouldn't get me the slush, but so it kind of I don't know. Like it was doing something that I couldn't have when I was younger, but now I get to do it. Yeah. And then that was, so I was like, I'm gonna do it differently. I'm gonna do it differently.
You're definitely right about the slush machine being ignored.
Yeah.
You know, most of the year.
Yeah.
Apart from the summer. Yeah. Facts. Yeah. Okay. So then, you're doing great things. You're doing great things with it now. Supplying over 100 shops all around. You know where we are, on the outskirts and that. What are your hopes for the future of it?
Like, I want to have something I can give to my kids, and be like, you know, on some level. Like it's been up, downs. Like it hasn't been easy, and I'll never pretend like it's easy because it hasn't been easy. But it's been worth it, and you know the journey that it's what you become along the journey. See, I had opportunity to go on Dragon's Den and I turned it down. They actually approached me and I turned it down. It's like, you know, X Factor approaches people. Yeah. Some people have to go audition, and some people, they have researchers that go and pick them. Yeah. Just like Dragon's Den will have people and say you're viable business. But, you know, even the ups and downs, everything I've been through, at the end of the day, I'm just like, no, the brand is worth fighting for, and it's worth, no matter, you know what I'm trying to say to you? Because nothing is, it's easy in the beginning sometimes, and then after when like say the pandemic, and then it's the cold months, because obviously, see the thing about it is, it always thrives in the summer, but when it gets a bit more quieter, but it doesn't disappear. And people always ask me, what do you do in the winter? And I say to them, when you go into the shops, do they automatically get rid of ice cream and frozen products in the winter? No, they don't, because people will still enjoy it. They'll just enjoy it in a different way in the winter, right? But summer is obviously going to be its high point. But I've supplied the journey's been so mad. I'm trying to concise it, but I've done so much with it. It's taken me up and down the country. I've done so many events, like high profile events, like famous people have drink the drink. Like I can't describe this, the homes and places I've been to. There's some of the things I've seen just because of just creating an idea that started in my head. So no matter what happens, like everything it's done so much for me that no matter what, I just think to myself, like if that's one reason why I wouldn't stop, but also another reason why I'm just like, man, sometimes it moves so fast you don't have a chance to look at it and be proud of yourself and be like, you know what, I've actually done okay, you know? Like I might not be where I need to be, but I took the long route. I did the Jay-Z and Dame thing. I said, no, I'm gonna stay independent. I'm gonna do it independently. That is always gonna be harder. That's always gonna be plagued with problems like that other people won't have. Yeah. But when you sign away, you also sign away some. I know how to get, if you have a product, I know how to get you into the shops because I've done it. Literally, I have a relationship now with shops, and I signed a distribution deal now on top of the other shops that I supply. So I supply shops. I'm a approved nominal supplier for a big distribution company now. But that's because they kept on going in the shops and seeing my drink. They're like, nah, we need to sit this guy down. And then they sat me down and we made it work. And you know what? In the beginning, I'd take some, take a bit of, not even an L, just had to, cut some of the price down. And when I was working with him, I wasn't too sure about it in the beginning because at that moment I was getting 100% of everything off whatever. But when I sat down with them, it was one of the best things I ever did. Because what it did is then it meant that someone else is working for me now. I don't got to think about sourcing certain shops. I can just say, I want this area, that area. Now I get this area, that area. I just go deliver. So I'm saying to you, they get their 30 days and then we get the money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then at that point, you're actually doing something because someone else is now working on behalf of you, on top of you doing your thing yourself. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's why it was one of the best things I ever did.
People definitely eat ice cream in the winter. It's just in the winter, it's more of a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the summer, it's more of a hydration, fun thing, But yeah, man, big up, man. Big up to you. Lastly, what advice would you give to any kind of young budding entrepreneur trying to come up, trying to do their own thing, trying to do the Damon J thing?
Get a job. And
No,
I'm finished. No, I mean, what I'm saying. No, get a job. And the reason why I say get a job is because a lot of us didn't come from that. We had to do a lot of other stuff to get money in order for us to get on. Facts. And there's a lot of people that end up not reaching their full potential because they ruin their future doing things they shouldn't be doing. You know what I'm trying to say to you? And that's the truth of the matter. Like it's not sexy. Sometimes where we come from in our culture, people don't want to be seen to be working. I understand it. It's not cool. I understand it. But what's not cool is getting slammed away in jail for a good couple of years, doing something, just try to get a bit of money in order to push your career forward. How many musicians are in jail now because they're doing stuff just to finance their music career? You know what I'm trying to say to you? And I'm not saying to go get a job in McDonald's, but not that there's anything wrong with working at McDonald's, but if you want to own a restaurant, go get a job in McDonald's. Go and get a job if you want to own a restaurant, because you're about to learn how a proper restaurant runs from the bottom up. You're going to see it all, and you're going to get a level of education that people aren't going to get. If you want to work in the industry, the best way to do it is if you want to know an industry, or just to go and learn, go get a job in it. Because to get someone to teach it to you, aside from working, is a lot harder. It's a lot easier to start speaking to people once you're actually in the room. Because people tend to be, what I found as well, people tend to be more likely to help you once you're already in the room, and they speak, oh, so what else are you into? And a lot of us can't get in the room. The biggest problem is getting into the room, and conversations are different. So a lot of times is you can't figure out how can I get in that room, but a job can get you in the room, and then once you're in the room, it's what you do and it's how you are. So that's the only reason why I say that, because a lot of these industries, like if you want to get into film and TV, you need to get into the room. So I'm saying to you, and part of the reason why I'm on the journey I'm now is because I've put myself into the room with podcasters and film crews and people. Now we're creating, we're creating on a different level. But that's because I've understood that I'm supposed to be a creative and to put myself in the room. But partly of doing that is sometimes you might need to work for somebody just to get a level in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it.
It's due diligence.
Yeah, but sometimes there's this thing where we go from nothing to something and people don't want to talk about the transition period. But this is another reason why us as a community are failing. Now, you know, we can talk about the Asian community, both like the Oriental and the actual, Southeastern Asian community. We could talk about the Jewish community. We could talk about how they work together, talk about all the different things that they do, which we can learn from, which are amazing things. You know what I mean? How they teach, when you talk about the shops, when you talk about the businesses, it's amazing, right? So if they can do it and they actively see them on social media, you've seen clips of them saying, right, this is what black people can benefit. And when I hear it, I'm like, man, this is sick. This is what we should do. But when you go and try to take it to other brothers, nobody want to do it. So even what you're doing with 100% right now, me being on this platform and, you know, been going on viral on podcasts and all these other things, whatever bit of energy we can get from that, we should be sharing it. You know what I mean? So everyone that everyone that knows me, anyone that knows anyone that's been 100%, like, you guys are supposed to be sharing this content because you have people like me that are putting themselves in front of the camera and doing things for community, doing things for men, doing things really for society that other people are getting stopped for and are getting cancelled and are getting labelled all manner of things for. So when you have people like us that are doing these, you need to support these platforms because the real is coming back. Like, real, you know what I mean? The real is coming back, man.
For real. Broski, thank you again. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for the game. And all the best for the future endeavours.
Yeah, you know what? There's so much stuff I'm thinking about that I have to sit down again. I'm gonna have to sit down again. We're gonna have to sit down again, and we're gonna have to sit down again. So so my name is China, the Mandem's Voice, I/you. Make sure you check that out. Also subscribe to my channel. My name is China, and if you haven't done so, what are you waiting for? 100% subscribe to the thing.